The late afternoon sun filters through the windows of Sacred Heart Hospice, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. My shoes squeak softly against the linoleum as I push the medication cart down the corridor, checking my watch for the third time in as many minutes. 4:30. 30 minutes until my shift ends, and I can finally go home, peel off these scrubs, and collapse into bed. Except I won't be going home. Not really. Home implies somewhere permanent, somewhere safe. What I have is a studio apartment in the Bronx with thin walls and a landlord who doesn't fix the heat. What I have is temporary, precarious, like everything else in my life since I left Sicily 3 years ago. Nurse Aria? Mrs. Chen's voice pulls me from my thoughts. She's standing in the doorway of room 304, her expression worried. The new patient in 312, the elderly woman, she's very agitated. Won't let anyone near her. Keeps speaking in a language none of us understand. I nod, already moving toward the room. This isn't uncommon. Elderly patients, especially those with dementia or in the final stages of illness, often revert to their native languages. We have translators on call, but they take time to arrive, and sometimes a gentle presence is all that's needed. The woman in room 312 is tiny, bird-like, propped up against pillows that seem to swallow her whole. Her skin is papery and translucent, her white hair carefully arranged despite her obvious distress. But it's her eyes that catch me, dark, sharp, still fierce despite the frailty of her body. She's muttering continuously, her gnarled hands plucking at the blanket. I approach slowly, keeping my movements gentle and unthreatening. Buongiorno, signora, I say softly in Italian, hoping it might calm her. Her eyes snap to me, and the muttering stops. For a moment, she just stares, assessing. Then she speaks, and my blood runs cold, not with fear, but with recognition. She's speaking ancient Sicilian dialect. Not the modern Italian-influenced version most people know, but the old tongue, the one my grandmother used to speak, the one that carries echoes of Greek and Arabic and Norman French, the language of shepherds and fishermen, of mountain villages so remote they might as well exist outside of time. "Iu subnistanka," she whispers, her voice cracking. "Voglio tornare a casa. Uni mi figlio?" I'm tired. I want to go home. Where's my son? The words unlock something in me I've kept carefully buried for 3 years. Memories of my grandmother's kitchen, of summer evenings on the terrace overlooking the valley, of a language I haven't spoken since the night I fled with nothing but a suitcase and my grandmother's old recipe book. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Without thinking, I respond in the same dialect, my tongue stumbling slightly over words I haven't used in so long. Signora, City Sicura CCA. You vostro figlio veni presto. You're safe here, signora. Your son is coming soon. Her entire body relaxes, her eyes filling with tears. Tu capisci? Tu parli la lingua antica? You understand? You speak the old language? I nod, moving closer to take her hand. It's like holding a small bird, all delicate bones and papery skin. Si, signora. Mi nana m'han signato. Ita venia di Corleone. Yes, signora. My grandmother taught me. She came from Corleone. The woman's grip tightens surprisingly strong. Corleone? Macari iu. Quali era u cognomi di nana? Corleone? Me too. What was your grandmother's surname? Messina, I say, and watch her eyes widen with something like recognition. Before she can respond, the door bursts open with such force I actually jump. 2 men in dark suits enter first, their eyes scanning the room with professional efficiency, hands hovering near their jackets in a way that makes my stomach clench. These aren't family members. These are bodyguards. Then he walks in. I've seen handsome men before. I've seen wealthy men, powerful men. But this man, he's something else entirely. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the fluid grace of someone utterly confident in their body. His suit probably costs more than I make in 6 months. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and severe beauty. But it's his eyes that stop my breath, dark brown, almost black, and currently fixed on his grandmother with such naked concern that something in my chest twists painfully. "Nah," he says, moving past me as if I don't exist, taking her other hand in both of his. His Italian is flawless, cultured, clearly Roman rather than Sicilian. "I came as soon as they called. How are you feeling?" But the old woman isn't looking at him. She's looking at me, a strange smile playing at her lips. "Marco," she says in that ancient dialect, "Chista picciata parla como a mi nana. Uni elatravasti?" "Marco, this girl speaks like my grandmother. Where did you find her?" The man, Marco, apparently, freezes. His head turns slowly toward me, and suddenly those dark eyes are boring into mine with an intensity that makes me want to step back. His gaze sweeps over me, taking in my cheap scrubs, my worn sneakers, my hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. I watch his expression change from surprise to sharp, almost predatory interest. "Tu parli Siciliano antiquo?" he asks, and his accent is wrong, too Roman, but the words are correct. "You speak ancient Sicilian?" I swallow hard, suddenly aware that I've stumbled into something complicated, something potentially dangerous. Men who travel with bodyguards, who can afford private rooms in expensive hospices, who look at you like you're a puzzle they need to solve, these are not men whose attention you want. "You mi nana emhan signatu," I repeat, keeping my voice steady. "I should go." Mrs. Chin can call for the regular translator. "No." The word is sharp, commanding. Not a request. "Stay." The old woman tugs on my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "Stacca, picciata. Contami di Corleone. E ancora betta?" "Stay here, girl. Tell me about Corleone. Is it still beautiful?" I glance at the door, at the bodyguards stationed there like sentinels, at Marco, who's still watching me with that unnerving intensity. Every instinct I have is screaming at me to leave, to maintain the careful invisibility I've cultivated since arriving in America. But the old woman's eyes are pleading, and I've never been able to deny the elderly their comfort, especially not when they're dying. Because she is dying. I can see it in the pallor of her skin, in the shallow rise and fall of her chest, in the way her body seems to be slowly retreating from the world. I've seen it enough times to recognize the signs. I sit in the chair beside her bed, acutely aware of Marco standing on the other side, his presence filling the room like heat from a fire. "Corleone is still beautiful," I say in Italian now, letting the old dialect rest for a moment. "The mountains, the valleys. In summer, everything turns gold." "E chiesa?" she asks, slipping back into dialect. "C'è ancora a Madonna di Tagliavia?" "And the church? Is the Madonna of Tagliavia still there?" My throat tightens. I know that church. I know that Madonna, with her sad eyes and outstretched hands. My grandmother used to take me there every Sunday, lighting candles, whispering prayers in that ancient tongue. "Si, signora. Ancora da. Betta e antica." "Yes, signora." She's still there. Beautiful and ancient. The old woman's eyes drift closed, a peaceful smile on her lips. "Bonu. Bonu. Quando era picciata, mi nana mi portava da tutti I domenici." Good. Good. When I was young, my grandmother took me there every Sunday. She continues talking, her voice growing softer, drifting between memories and present, between Italian and the old dialect. I respond when appropriate, hold her hand, let her reminisce about a Sicily that probably doesn't exist anymore, if it ever truly did. Time seems to suspend in that golden room, the outside world fading until there's only this woman, these memories, this language that connects us across decades and an ocean. I don't realize how much time has passed until Mrs. Chin appears in the doorway, her eyes wide. "Aria? Your shift ended an hour ago." I blink, startled, looking at the clock. 6:30. "I've been here for 2 hours." "I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I start to stand, but the old woman's grip tightens. Non ti ieri, she whispers. Torna domani. Pai favori. Don't go. Come back tomorrow. Please. I look down at her, at the tears tracking down her weathered cheeks, and find I can't refuse. I'll come back, I promise in dialect. Tomorrow, during my break. Prometti? Promise? Prometo. I promise. Only then does she release my hand, settling back against her pillows with a sigh of contentment. I stand, smoothing my scrubs, acutely aware that Marco hasn't moved, hasn't taken his eyes off me once. Thank you, he says in English now, his accent barely noticeable. For staying with her. For speaking her language. I nod, professional, distant. It's part of my job. Comfort care. That wasn't your job. His voice is quiet but certain. Your shift ended. You stayed anyway. I don't know how to respond to that, so I don't. I move toward the door, but one of the bodyguards blocks my path. Not threateningly, but firmly. I look back at Marco, my heart rate picking up. I need your name, he says. Your full name. That's in her chart, I reply, keeping my voice steady. If you need to contact the hospice. Not for the hospice. He moves closer, and I have to fight the urge to step back. For me. Where did you learn ancient Sicilian dialect? It's dying out, even in Sicily. Most people under 50 don't speak it, and yet you, an American-looking woman working in a Bronx hospice, speak it fluently enough to comfort my grandmother. My grandmother taught me. The truth, but not all of it. Never all of it. Your grandmother from Corleone. It's not a question. His eyes narrow slightly. What's your full name? Aria. I lift my chin, meeting his gaze. Just Aria. And I really need to go. For a long moment, we stare at each other, and I swear I can feel something electric in the air between us, something that makes my skin prickle with awareness and alarm in equal measure. Then he nods once, sharp, and the bodyguard steps aside. I walk out of that room as quickly as professionalism allows, my heart hammering against my ribs. In the nurse's station, I grab my bag and coat with shaking hands. Aria? Mrs. Chin appears beside me, her voice low. Do you know who that is? The man with Mrs. Vitali? I shake my head, but something in my gut already knows the answer. Marco Vitali. He owns half the real estate in Manhattan. Multiple restaurants, legitimate businesses. She pauses meaningfully. But there are rumors. Connections to families in Italy. The kind of families people don't talk about openly. Mafia. She means mafia. I'm sure it's just rumors, I say weakly, but Mrs. Chen's expression tells me we both know better. The subway ride home is a blur. I sit in the crowded car, pressed between strangers, but all I can see is Marco Vitali's face, the way he looked at me as if I were a mystery he needed to solve. All I can hear is his grandmother's voice, speaking words I haven't heard in 3 years, pulling me back toward a past I've tried desperately to leave behind. When I finally reach my apartment, I lock the door behind me and lean against it, breathing hard. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer. Aria. His voice is unmistakable, smooth and dark like expensive whiskey. We need to talk. How did you get my number? I own the city. Simple, matter of fact. Your full name is Aria Messina. You've been in New York for 3 years. Before that, Sicily, but there's a gap in your records. 3 months where you simply don't exist. A pause. Why is that? My hands are trembling. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. His voice softens slightly. And I think you know why I'm calling. My grandmother hasn't been this calm, this happy, in weeks. Whatever you did, whatever you said, it gave her peace. She's asking for you. She won't sleep until I promise you'll come back. I said I'd visit during my break. I want to hire you. Privately. To sit with her, speak with her in the old dialect. Name your price. I can't. I have a full-time job, other patients. I'll compensate the hospice for your lost hours. Triple your normal rate for you personally. All you have to do is spend time with an old woman who's dying and wants to hear her grandmother's language one more time. His voice drops lower. Please, Arya. The please breaks something in me. This powerful man, this dangerous man, saying please for his grandmother. Just during visiting hours, I hear myself say, I'll come after my regular shifts. No more than 2 hours a day. Done. Relief evident in his voice. Thank you. He ends the call before I can change my mind. I sink onto my narrow bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering what I've just agreed to. Wondering if the past I've been running from has finally caught up with me. Wondering why part of me, the reckless, foolish part, is almost glad it has. The next 3 days pass in a strange new rhythm. I work my regular shift at Sacred Heart, then spend 2 hours with Mrs. Vitali, Nana Lucia, as she insists I call her. We talk about Sicily, about the old ways, about recipes and festivals and superstitions that died out decades ago in most places. She tells me about her childhood in Corleone, about the summer she met her husband at the Festa di San Leoluca, about the son she raised in America who became more successful than she ever dreamed. Marco is always there. Sometimes he sits silently in the corner, watching us with those dark, unreadable eyes. Sometimes he paces the hallway, speaking rapid Italian into his phone, his voice sharp with authority. Sometimes he disappears entirely, only to return hours later looking exhausted, his expensive suit somehow still immaculate. On the 4th day, everything changes. I arrive at the hospice to find Mrs. Chen waiting for me at the entrance, her face pale. Arya, there were men here earlier. Not Mr. Vitali's people. Different men. They were asking questions about you. About your schedule, where you live. Ice floods my veins. What did you tell them? Nothing. Hospital policy, we don't give out employee information. But Arya, they weren't friendly. And they knew things. They knew you speak Sicilian. They knew about your grandmother. Her hand grips my arm. One of them mentioned Corleone specifically. Said something about unfinished business. The room tilts slightly. No. It's been 3 years. I changed my name, destroyed my papers, became invisible. How did they find me? But I know how. I spoke that ancient dialect in front of Marco Vitali, in front of his bodyguards, in a room that probably has security cameras. And Marco had me investigated. He opened doors I'd kept carefully sealed. I need to see Mrs. Vitali, I say, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. Arya, maybe you should. I made a promise to her. I need to see her. Mrs. Chen looks like she wants to argue, but she nods. As I walk down the corridor, everything feels surreal, like I'm moving through water. Room 312. I knock softly and enter. Marco is there, standing by the window, phone pressed to his ear. He turns as I enter, and something in my expression makes him cut off whoever he's speaking to mid-sentence. I'll call you back. Nana Lucia is dozing, her breathing shallow but steady. Marco's eyes narrow as he studies my face. What happened? I need to leave. I can't come back. The words tumble out too fast. I'm sorry. I know I promised your grandmother, but I can't. What happened? He repeats, moving closer, and this time it's a command. I shake my head, backing toward the door. Thank you for the job offer, but I can't accept anymore. Please tell Nana Lucia I'm sorry. I turn to leave, but Marco catches my wrist. Not roughly, but firmly enough to stop me. Arya. Tell me what's wrong. Men were here. Asking about me. My voice cracks. Men who know things they shouldn't know. About Sicily. About Corleone. And it's because of me being here, because people saw me speak that dialect, because you, I break off, anger suddenly cutting through the fear. You had me investigated. You opened doors that needed to stay closed. His expression darkens. What men? What did they look like? I don't know, I wasn't here. Security footage. He's already pulling out his phone, making a call. Carlo, I need the security recordings from the main entrance today. All of them. Send them to my phone immediately. He's still holding my wrist. I tug against his grip. Let me go. I need to disappear again, I need to. Again? His eyes sharpen. You've done this before. The 3-month gap in your records. You were running from someone. I don't answer, can't answer. The memories I've kept buried for 3 years are clawing their way to the surface. The night I fled Corleone. The blood. The screaming. The man with cold eyes who said I'd seen too much, who promised that if I spoke, if I told anyone what I witnessed, my grandmother would pay the price. So I ran. Changed my name from Aria Messina Catalano to just Aria Messina. Destroyed my passport. Became no one, invisible, safe in anonymity. Until Marco Vitali's grandmother recognized my dialect. Picciata. Nana Lucia's weak voice breaks through my panic. Ci è successo? What happened? I force myself to breathe, to smile, to cross to her bedside. Niente, Nana. Tutto va bene. Nothing, Nana. Everything's fine. But her sharp old eyes see through my lie. She looks past me to Marco, speaks in rapid dialect. Marco, ci hai fatto? Picci sta picciata e scanata? Marco, what did you do? Why is this girl frightened? Non sugno stato io, Nana. His dialect is improving, I notice distantly. Ma hai intenzione di scoprire se io l'ha scanata e picci. It wasn't me, Nana. But I intend to find out who frightened her and why. His phone buzzes. He looks at the screen, then his face hardens into something almost frightening. Excuse me. He strides out of the room, and I hear him speaking in the hallway, his voice low and deadly. I want their names. I want to know who sent them. And I want it within the hour. I should leave. I should walk out of this hospice and never come back. But Nana Lucia's hand finds mine, surprisingly strong. Stacca, Carusa. You mean a puti tiha protegere. Stay here, dear girl. My grandson will protect you. I don't need protection, I whisper, but it's a lie. I've needed protection for 3 years, and I've been too proud and too frightened to ask for it. Marco returns, his expression grim. Tommaso Russo. Salvatore Gallo. Both from Corleone. Both with connections to the Catalano family. His eyes bore into mine. Your family. The name hits me like a physical blow. I sink into the chair beside Nana Lucia's bed, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. My ex-husband's family. The words hang in the air between us. Marco's expression doesn't change, but something dangerous flickers in his eyes. Ex-husband. I was 19. Stupid. In love. My voice sounds hollow. Antonio Catalano. His family runs, most of western Sicily. Protection, smuggling, the usual businesses. I didn't know when we got married. Or maybe I didn't want to know. I forced myself to meet Marco's gaze. 8 months after the wedding, I walked in on a meeting I wasn't supposed to see. Men from a rival family, begging for mercy. Antonio's father ordered their execution. Right there, in the wine cellar of our home. And my voice breaks. I screamed. Nana Lucia's hand tightens on mine. Oh, Picciata. They let me live because I was Antonio's wife. But his uncle, Salvatore, said if I ever told anyone, if I ever went to the police, my grandmother would be the first to die. So I stayed silent. I played the perfect Mafia wife for 2 months while I planned. I swallow hard. Then one night, when Antonio was in Palermo, I took what cash I could find and disappeared. Paid a smuggler to get me out of Sicily. Destroyed my identity papers. Became someone new. And your grandmother? Marco's voice is careful, controlled. She died 6 months after I left. Natural causes, they said. Heart failure. My laugh is bitter. Maybe it was. Or maybe they kept their promise anyway, just to make a point. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Marco is silent for a long moment, processing. Then he pulls out his phone again, makes a call. Gio. I need a full protection detail at Sacred Heart Hospice. Private room 312, around the clock. No one gets in without my explicit approval. He pauses. And find me everything on Tommaso Russo and Salvatore Gallo. I want to know what hotel they're staying at, what they had for breakfast, and who sent them. He ends the call and looks at me. You're not leaving this hospice without my protection. And you're sure as hell not going back to that apartment alone. You can't just. I can. I am. He crouches in front of me, his eyes level with mine. Listen to me very carefully, Aria. The Catalano family finding you here, in New York, in my territory, that's a declaration. They're testing boundaries. Seeing if I'll protect you or hand you over. Why would you protect me? You don't even know me. Something shifts in his expression, becomes almost vulnerable. My grandmother hasn't smiled like she does when you're here in 5 years. Not since my grandfather died. You give her peace. You speak her language, remember her world. His voice drops lower. And beyond that, you're under my roof now. In my territory. That makes you mine to protect, whether the Catalanos like it or not. This will start a war, I whisper. Then it starts a war. He stands, his decision made. Nah, I'm moving you to the private medical facility at the estate. Aria will come with us. Marco, non fa nendi di stupido, Nana Lucia begins, but he cuts her off gently. Nana, idi hanu venuto ppiida. Hanu venuto intra umi territorio senza permesso. Ci stue unifisa ci non posso ignorare. Nana, they came for her. They came into my territory without permission. This is an insult I cannot ignore. Within 2 hours, everything changes. Nana Lucia is transferred to a private medical suite in Marco's estate, a sprawling compound in Westchester that's more fortress than home. The medical team is already there, setting up equipment under the supervision of the Swiss doctor Marco has flown in specially. And I'm there too, installed in a bedroom that's larger than my entire apartment, with windows overlooking manicured gardens and woods that stretch as far as I can see. The door has locks, but I notice the security cameras in the hallway, the guards stationed at regular intervals. Protected or imprisoned? Sometimes the line is thinner than we'd like to believe. A soft knock announces a woman entering without waiting for my response. She's middle-aged, beautiful in a severe way, dressed in an elegant black suit. Miss Messina. I'm Gianna Moretti, Mr. Vitali's head of security. I need to brief you on the situation. She spreads photographs on the coffee table. Tommaso Russo and Salvatore Gallo, the men who came looking for me. They're staying at the plaza. 4 more men arrived yesterday from Palermo, including Antonio Catalano himself. My stomach drops. Antonio is here? He arrived this morning. Her expression is sympathetic but professional. Mr. Vitali has made it clear to certain intermediaries that you're under his protection. The Catalano family has been given 48 hours to leave New York. If they don't, she doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't need to. This is insane, I breathe. I'm not worth starting a war over. Mr. Vitali disagrees. She gathers the photos. For what it's worth, I've worked for him for 8 years. He doesn't make decisions like this lightly. and he doesn't make them for people he doesn't care about. After she leaves, I sit in the too beautiful room, trying to process everything. 6 days ago, I was invisible, safe in my anonymity. Now I'm at the center of a potential mob war, protected by a man I barely know, who looks at me like I'm something precious he's determined to keep. That evening, I sit with Nana Lucia in her new medical suite. She's comfortable, the doctor assures me, but fading. Days, maybe a week at most. Picciata, she says softly, Yumi Naputi, a como Yumi Meritu. Quana City di Protegere a qual Chidunu, a pa vida. My grandson, he's like my husband. When he decides to protect someone, it's for life. I don't need protection for life. Just until the Catalanos leave. Her smile is sad, knowing. Tu non capisci ancora. Ma capirai presto. You don't understand yet. But you will soon. A sound at the door makes us both look up. Marco stands there, and for the first time since I met him, he looks uncertain. May I come in? I nod, and he enters, moving to kiss his grandmother's forehead before sitting in the chair across from me. For a long moment, we just look at each other. Thank you, I say finally. For protecting me. For this. I gesture around the beautiful room. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. His voice is firm. They came into my territory hunting someone under my protection. That's not something I can let pass. I'm not under your protection. I'm just someone who speaks Sicilian to your grandmother. His eyes hold mine. You became under my protection the moment you showed her kindness. The moment you stayed past your shift to hold her hand. The moment you spoke her language and made her smile. He leans forward, intensity radiating from him. You think I don't know what you did? You gave her back Sicily. You gave her back her grandmother's voice, her childhood, everything she thought she'd lost. That kind of gift, that creates a debt. I don't want you in my debt. Too late. A ghost of a smile. I'm a Sicilian, Aria. We take debts seriously. Nana Lucia makes a soft sound, amused. Vu dui city testerity como muli. You two are both stubborn as mules. Despite everything, I laugh. Marco joins in, the sound warm and genuine. For a moment, the danger outside these walls feels distant, unreal. Then his phone buzzes. He checks it, and his expression hardens. Antonio Catalano has requested a meeting. Tomorrow. Neutral ground. My blood turns cold. You're not going to give you back? No. His voice is flat, absolute. But I do need to understand what he wants, what he thinks he can negotiate. His eyes find mine. Unless you want to see him. If there's still something between you. No. The word comes out harder than I intend. There's nothing. There hasn't been for 3 years. Something that looks like relief crosses his face. Then I'll see him alone. You'll stay here, safe, with Nana and the security team. That night, I lie in the too soft bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the estate. Footsteps in the hallway. Distant voices. The weight of safety I'm not sure I deserve. Sometime after midnight, unable to sleep, I wander downstairs. The house is quiet but not empty. I can feel the presence of guards, of watchful eyes. I find my way to the library, a beautiful room with floor-to-ceiling books and leather furniture that smells like old paper and wood smoke. And Marco is there, sitting in a wingback chair by the fire, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring into the flames. Can't sleep either? I ask softly. He looks up, unsurprised. Thinking about tomorrow. About what your ex-husband wants badly enough to risk coming into my territory. I move into the room, drawn by the fire's warmth. He doesn't like losing. Never has. And I made him look weak when I ran. His family probably never let him forget it. Then he's a fool. Marco's voice is quiet but certain. Any man who had you and let you feel unsafe enough to run doesn't deserve a second chance. The words hit me harder than they should, warming something in my chest that has nothing to do with the fire. I sink into the chair across from him, pulling my knees up, making myself small. Why are you really doing this? I ask. And don't say it's just because I speak Sicilian to your grandmother. That's not worth starting a war. He takes a long drink, considering his answer. When he speaks, his voice is rougher than usual. My grandfather died when I was 16. Heart attack, sudden, no warning. My grandmother was destroyed. Stopped speaking for 3 months. My father tried everything, doctors, therapists, priests. Nothing worked. He sets down his glass, his eyes still on the fire. Then one day, I came home from school and heard her voice. She was in the kitchen, talking to herself while she cooked. In the old dialect, the one her grandmother taught her. She told me later that speaking it made her feel less alone. Like her ancestors were there with her. He finally looks at me. She hasn't spoken it since my grandfather died. Not until you. Understanding dawns. She reminded you of how she was before. Happy. Connected. You gave me back my grandmother. His voice is raw with emotion. You gave her back her voice, her past, her joy. That's not something I take lightly, Arya. In my world, loyalty is everything. And you showed loyalty to a dying old woman you didn't even know. Tears prick my eyes. She reminded me of my own Nana. I couldn't help it. I know. He smiles, sad and genuine. That's what makes it real. We sit in comfortable silence for a while, the fire crackling between us. Then Marco speaks again, his voice hesitant. There's something else. Something I should tell you before tomorrow. My stomach clenches. What? The Catalano family and my family, we have history. Old history. My grandfather did business with Antonio's grandfather in the 60s. It ended badly. Blood was spilled on both sides. There's been an uneasy truce for 50 years, but it's fragile. He meets my eyes. Me protecting you, keeping you from Antonio, it breaks that truce. It might reignite a war that ended before either of us were born. Then don't, I say immediately. Let me go. I'll disappear again, I'm good at it. No. The word is absolute. He stands, moves to my chair, crouches in front of me like he did at the hospice. Listen to me, Arya. Some things are worth fighting for. Some things are worth breaking old truces and starting new wars. You're one of those things. You barely know me. I know enough. His hand comes up to cup my cheek, gentle despite the calluses on his palm. I know you're loyal. I know you're kind. I know you speak the language of my ancestors and made my dying grandmother smile. I know you ran from a dangerous man and survived. I know you're stronger than you think you are. His thumb brushes my cheekbone. And I know that when you walked into that hospice room and spoke those first words in Sicilian, something in me recognized you. Like I'd been waiting for you without knowing it. My breath catches. Marco. I'm not asking for anything, Arya. I'm not demanding anything. I'm just telling you the truth. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever Antonio wants, whatever war this starts, I don't regret it. I'd do it again. The words hang in the air between us, heavy with meaning. Before I can respond, before I can even process what he said, his phone buzzes. He checks it, and his expression changes, hardens. They're not waiting until tomorrow. His voice is deadly calm. Antonio and his men just entered my territory. They're coming here. Everything happens fast after that. Marco makes rapid phone calls, barking orders. Guards materialize from shadows, armed and moving with military precision. Gianna appears, her expression grim. They have 8 men. We have 15 on the estate, 20 more en route. But they're already at the front gate. Get Nana to the panic room, Marco orders. And Arya. I'm not hiding. The words surprise me as much as they surprise him. If Antonio is here for me, then I should face him. Absolutely not. Marco, this is my fault. My past. I won't let your grandmother or your people get hurt because I'm too afraid to face him. His eyes blaze with something between fury and admiration. You're the most infuriating woman I've ever met. Good. I lift my chin. So let me do this. For a moment, I think he'll refuse. Then he nods once, sharp. You stay behind me. You don't speak unless I give you permission. And if shooting starts, you hit the ground immediately. Understood? Understood. He turns to Gianna. Standard positions. No one fires unless I give the order. Let's see what Antonio Catalano wants badly enough to break every rule of civility. We move to the entrance hall, a cavernous space with marble floors and a sweeping staircase. Marco's men position themselves strategically, weapons visible but not raised. Marco stands at the center, and I stand slightly behind him, my heart hammering so hard I'm sure everyone can hear it. The doors open. Antonio walks in first, and seeing him again after 3 years is like being punched in the stomach. He's still handsome, still carries himself with that easy arrogance of men who've never been told no. But there's something harder in his face now, something cruel around his eyes that I don't remember from before. Behind him, Salvatore and Tommaso, plus 5 other men I don't recognize. All armed. All dangerous. Antonio's eyes find me immediately. Something vicious flashes in them before he schools his expression to neutrality. Aria. You're looking well. I don't respond. Marco's presence beside me is solid, grounding. Mr. Catalano. Marco's voice is cold, professional. You're on my property without invitation. Without respect. I hope you have a very good reason. Antonio's smile doesn't reach his eyes. That woman is my wife. I've come to collect what belongs to me. The words hang in the air like a blade. My wife. What belongs to me? I feel Marco's entire body tense beside me, coiled violence barely contained. But when he speaks, his voice is ice. Your wife. Interesting. Because according to Sicilian law, a marriage dissolved by abandonment after 3 years is no longer valid. Especially when the abandonment was caused by the husband's family threatening the wife's life. Antonio's smile turns sharp. Is that what she told you? That we threatened her? He laughs, the sound bitter. She ran like a thief in the night with 50,000 euros that didn't belong to her. She's a criminal, Vitali. Not a victim. That's a lie, I say, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. I took money that was mine. My grandmother's inheritance that you kept in your safe. Money held in trust for the family, Antonio counters smoothly. That's theft, Aria. In any country. Marco holds up a hand, silencing us both. Even if that were true, which I doubt, it's not why you're here. You don't cross into another man's territory with 8 armed men over 50,000 euros. So let's dispense with the games, Catalano. What do you really want? Antonio's expression shifts, calculation replacing false civility. I want what was taken from me. My wife made me look weak when she ran. My uncles, my cousins, they whisper about it still. Antonio couldn't keep his own woman. You understand how that undermines respect, authority. So this is about pride, Marco says flatly. This is about order. Antonio's voice hardens. Women don't leave Catalano men. They don't run. They don't speak against us. When Aria fled, she broke something fundamental. If I don't bring her back, if I don't restore the natural order, every man in my organization will think they can defy me too. Marco's laugh is without humor. Natural order. You mean fear. Call it what you want. The principle is the same. Antonio's eyes bore into mine. Come home, Aria. Willingly. And I'll forgive everything. The money, the running, the disrespect. We'll start fresh. No. The word comes out stronger than I feel. I'm not your wife anymore, Antonio. I stopped being your wife the moment your family threatened to kill my grandmother if I testified against you. His expression doesn't change, but something cold flickers in his eyes. Testimony about what? You know what? I step forward, past Marco's protective presence, and something in me that's been buried for 3 years finally breaks free. I saw what happened in that wine cellar. I saw your father execute those men in cold blood. I saw you stand there and watch, and I saw the look on your face, like it was nothing. Like they were nothing. Arya, Marco's voice is a warning, but I can't stop now. And then your uncle told me that if I ever breathed a word, my nana would die screaming. So I ran. I ran because staying meant becoming complicit in murder. Staying meant losing the last piece of my soul. Tears stream down my face now, but my voice doesn't waver. So no, Antonio. I won't come home. There's nothing there but blood and lies. Silence. Heavy and dangerous, then Antonio nods slowly, as if I've confirmed something he suspected. You know, I actually hoped you'd changed. Matured. Understood how the world really works. He sighs. But you're still the naive girl who thinks goodness matters. Who thinks anyone cares about her righteousness. He turns to Marco. Last chance, Vitali. Give her to me. Walk away from this. You can't want her that badly. You've known her what, a week? She's not worth breaking the old truces over. Marco's expression doesn't change. Get out of my house. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was letting you past my gate. Marco's voice drops to something deadly. You have 60 seconds to leave my property. After that, you're trespassing on armed private land, and New York law says I can respond accordingly. For a tense moment, I think Antonio will refuse. I think he'll give an order, and men will die in this beautiful entrance hall, blood staining the marble floors. Then Salvatore steps forward, murmuring something urgent in Antonio's ear. Antonio's jaw tightens, but he nods. This isn't over, Vitali. You think you're powerful because you own Manhattan real estate? My family has roots going back centuries. We don't forget insults. And we always collect our debts. I look forward to your attempts. Marco's smile is razor sharp. Now get out before I forget my manners entirely. Antonio's eyes find mine one last time. You'll regret this, Arya. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But when he tires of you, when you realize you've traded one prison for another, you'll remember you had a choice. And you'll regret it. Then he's gone, his men filing out behind him, and the doors close with a finality that echoes through the hall. I realize I'm shaking. My knees feel weak. Marco turns to me, his expression transforming from cold fury to concern. Arya, I need air. The words come out strangled. I stumble toward the terrace doors. Marco follows, dismissing his men with a gesture. Outside, the night air is cool and clean, and I gulp it down, trying to steady myself. You were incredibly brave in there, Marco says quietly, standing beside me at the railing. And incredibly foolish. I know. My laugh is shaky. But I needed to say it. I needed to tell him what I saw, what his family did. I've been silent for 3 years, and the silence was eating me alive. I understand. But Arya, you need to understand something. He turns me to face him, his hands on my shoulders. Antonio doesn't make idle threats. His family doesn't. When he said this isn't over, he meant it. I know. I meet his eyes. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I brought this to your door. Stop. His thumb presses gently against my lips. I told you. I don't regret this. Any of it. But we need to be smart now. We need to be prepared. For what? His expression is grim. For war. The next 2 days pass in tense preparation. Marco's organization mobilizes, not just his personal security, but a network I'm only beginning to understand. Men arrive from Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago. Allies, I'm told. Families that owe Marco favors or have their own grievances with the Catalanos. I spend my time with Nana Lucia, whose condition has worsened. The doctor says it's a matter of days now, maybe hours. She sleeps most of the time, but in her lucid moments, we speak the old dialect, and she tells me stories about Marco's childhood. Idu era sempre accusai, she says, her voice barely a whisper. Sempre pertitivu. Quando aviata Annie, unpachuta kairan nilu prigio aso soru. Marco rupi unasu ddu pachutu. He was always like this. Always protective. When he was 8, a bigger boy picked on his sister. Marco broke that boy's nose. I smiled despite everything. He has a good heart beneath all that danger. See. Mayu kori, idu averti sulu quando essen contra si una persona chilu capisai. Her eyes, clouded with pain medication, still hold wisdom. Tu lu capisai, picciata. Ppi chistu idu ti hasadutu. Yes. But the heart, it only opens when it meets someone who understands it. You understand him, girl. That's why he chose you. I'm not sure I chose him back, I admit softly. Her smile is knowing. Anka tu el hisadutu. Nun ti isi ajanata ancora, ma e veru. You chose him too. You just haven't realized it yet. That evening, I'm in the library when Gianna finds me. Her expression is tense. We have a problem. Antonio didn't leave New York like we thought. He's been gathering reinforcements. We're getting reports of at least 20 men, maybe more, arriving from Sicily. My stomach clenches. When? They're planning something for tomorrow night. We don't know what yet, but our sources say it's big. She hesitates. Mr. Vitali wants to send you somewhere safe. A property in Canada, or maybe the Caribbean. Somewhere they can't reach you. Absolutely not. I stand, resolve hardening. I'm not running again. And I'm not letting Marco fight my battles while I hide. Miss Messina, with all due respect, you're not trained for this. If violence breaks out, then I'll stay out of the way. But I won't run. I meet her eyes. Where's Marco? She sighs. The armory. Planning with his lieutenants. I find him in a room I've never seen before, surrounded by weapons and tactical maps. 5 men sit around a table, all of them radiating the same controlled violence as Marco. They fall silent as I enter. Marco looks up, surprise flickering across his face. Aria. You shouldn't be here. Gianna told me about tomorrow night. I move into the room, ignoring the stares of the other men. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. So if you're planning something, I should know about it. Gianna opens fire from the doorway, and the men dive for cover. In that split second of chaos, I move. The closest man's neck is exposed. I drive the syringe in with all my strength. He cries out, swinging at me, but the sedative works fast. His movements slow, his eyes losing focus. He crumbles. The second man turns his weapon toward me. I'm going to die, I think with strange clarity. Then Gianna's shot takes him in the shoulder, and he goes down. Salvatore is raising his gun, his expression furious. Time seems to slow. I see his finger on the trigger. I see the barrel pointed at my chest, then Marco's voice, roaring from the stairwell, "Don't." Salvatore freezes. Marco appears at the top of the stairs, weapon drawn, eyes blazing with fury. Behind him, Gio and 5 other men, all armed. "It's over, Salvatore," Marco says, his voice deadly calm. Antonio is in custody. The NYPD has enough evidence to put him away for 20 years, maybe more. Your men at the plaza surrendered without a fight when they realized they were surrounded. Salvatore's face goes white. You called the police? You broke omerta? I didn't call anyone. But Antonio was stupid enough to threaten a federal witness in a monitored hotel room. The FBI has been building a case against your family for months. I just gave them the final piece they needed. Marco's smile is cold. Your nephew is going to prison, Salvatore. The Catalano organization is finished. The only question now is whether you're going to join him or whether you're going to walk away while you still can. For a long moment, Salvatore doesn't move. Then, slowly, he lowers his weapon. This isn't over, Vitali. Yes, it is. Marco moves closer, his presence overwhelming. The Catalano family is done in America. You can slink back to Sicily with what's left of your pride, or you can stay here and face federal charges. Your choice. Salvatore's jaw works. Then he drops his weapon and walks toward the stairs, his remaining men following. At the top of the stairwell, he pauses. She's not worth it. That girl. She's not worth what you've started. Marco doesn't even look at him. His eyes are on me, dark and intense. She's worth everything. After Salvatore is gone, escorted off the property by Marco's men, the estate falls into an exhausted quiet. Police arrive, not to arrest anyone, but to take statements about the attempted home invasion. Marco has connections, clearly, people who owe him favors. By dawn, it's all handled. Antonio Catalano is in federal custody. His remaining men have scattered. It's over. I find Marco in his study as the sun rises, pouring golden light through the windows. He's standing at the window, still in his tactical gear, looking out at the grounds. Is she okay? He asks without turning. Nana? Sleeping. The excitement was hard on her, but the doctor says she's stable. I move to stand beside him. Thank you. For coming back. For saving us. I almost didn't make it in time. His voice is rough. When Gianna called, when she said they'd breached the perimeter, he breaks off, his jaw tight. I thought I'd lost you. But you didn't. I touch his arm gently. I'm here. We're both here. He turns to me then, and the emotion in his eyes steals my breath. What you did tonight, taking down that guard, standing your ground, that was either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Probably both, I admit. But I wasn't going to let them take me. I wasn't going to run again. And I wasn't going to let Nana die in terror. His hand comes up to cup my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You're extraordinary. Do you know that? I'm a hospice nurse who got involved in something way over her head. No. His voice is firm. You're a woman who survived abuse, who escaped with nothing, who rebuilt her life, who shows kindness to dying strangers, and who faced down armed men to protect someone she cares about. You're not ordinary, Arya. You never were. Tears prick my eyes. I don't feel extraordinary. I feel terrified and exhausted and like my life has been turned upside down in the space of a week. It has been. He pulls me closer, wrapping his arms around me. And I'm sorry for that. But I'm not sorry for knowing you. I'm not sorry for protecting you. And I'm not sorry for this. He kisses me then, and it's different from that brief kiss in the library days ago. This is deeper, more certain. This is a promise of something real, something worth fighting for. When we finally pull apart, I'm breathless. What happens now? Now? He smiles, soft and genuine. Now we take it one day at a time. Antonio faces trial. The Catalano family licks its wounds in Sicily. You stay here, safe, with Nana for as long as she has. And after? My voice is small. After Nana. His expression grows serious. After, you decide what you want. You can return to your old life if that's what you choose. I won't hold you here against your will. He pauses. But I hope you'll stay. Not as someone I'm protecting. Not as Nana's companion. But as. He searches for words. As someone I'm building something with. If you want that. Do I want that? This dangerous, complicated man who speaks my grandmother's language and fights wars to keep me safe. This life that's nothing like the quiet, invisible existence I've been living? I think of the past week. The terror, yes, but also the belonging. The way Nana Lucia's face lights up when I speak Sicilian. The way Marco looks at me like I'm precious. The way, for the first time in 3 years, I feel like I'm part of something larger than my own survival. I want that, I whisper. I want to stay. Relief washes over his face, raw and genuine. Thank God. He kisses me again, and this time, I kiss him back with everything I have, all my fear and hope and desperate, unexpected love for this man who saw me when I was trying to be invisible. Nana Lucia passes peacefully 3 days later, her hand in mine, Marco on her other side, speaking softly in the old dialect she taught him. Her last words are to me, Stacu idu, picciata. Idu a come yumi meritu, fedeli finu amorti. Stay with him, girl. He's like my husband, faithful until death. I promise her I will. The funeral is small, private, filled with people who genuinely loved her. As we stand at her grave, Marco takes my hand, and I know I've found something I didn't even know I was looking for, a home. 6 months later, I'm still at the estate. I've started working at a nearby hospice, using my skills to help others like Nana. Marco supports the hospice financially now, has renovated an entire wing in his grandmother's name. We've built something real together. It's not conventional, his business dealings are still complicated, still dance in shadows I sometimes don't want to examine too closely. But he's never lied to me. Never pretended to be something he's not. And I've never felt safer, more valued, more loved. On the anniversary of the night I first spoke Sicilian in room 312, Marco takes me to the library where everything changed. There's a fire burning, wine waiting, and when he drops to one knee, producing a ring that belonged to his grandmother, I don't even let him finish the question before I say yes. We marry in the spring, in a small ceremony in the garden where Nana used to sit. I wear white, and Marco wears a suit, and when we speak our vows, we speak them in the old dialect, the language that brought us together, the language of ancestors and promises and love that transcends danger. Ti prometto fedeltà e amore, he says, his voice steady. Fino a quando amorti non ne separa, e dopo. I promise you loyalty and love, until death parts us, and after. Ti prometto mi cuore e mi vita, I respond, tears streaming down my face. Sempre e pa sempre. I promise you my heart and my life. Always and forever. It began with an old woman who wanted to hear her grandmother's language one more time. It became a war, a transformation, a love story written in ancient words and modern choices. People ask me sometimes if I regret speaking Sicilian that day in the hospice, if I wish I'd stayed invisible, safe in my small life. I tell them no. I tell them that sometimes the most dangerous choices are the ones that save us. That sometimes love is worth fighting for, even when the fight is terrifying. I tell them that I spoke a dying woman's language and found my home. And every night, when Marco pulls me close and whispers in that old dialect about tomorrow and forever, I know I made the right choice. Some languages are meant to be spoken. Some hearts are meant to be found. And some loves are worth every risk. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now, I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.